So the first rule we're going to want to affect is the wrapper. Considering that that's or the body with the class of wrapper, considering that's what's going to contain everything, and that's going to be kind of the one that's going to set all our rules. So we'll start by targeting that one, and we can go ahead and inside of the opening and closing curly brackets for our media query, that's where we create our queries. So the first query, as I said already, is our wrapper, and what we want to do is we want to set it to 90%. And if we go back and look at our original rule here, we had it set to 60%. So what we want to do is we want to remove most of the width from the left and the right, and we want to have it as a width of 90%, so it's only going to have 5% on either side. And we also want to increase the font size to 110% to make it more readable. So if we save that and we upload it to the server, and we go back and we refresh our page, and we'll make it 600 pixels. Now, how we go about making it 600 pixels, the easiest way to know that we're at 600 pixels is to right click and inspect the element, and when you inspect the element you can resize your document and it'll tell you exactly where you are in terms of your width. You can see top right hand corner there, it's saying 599 600 pixels. So we want to get this down under 600 pixels. So if we refresh that now, our wrapper is now 90%. And how we know the wrapper is 90% is you can see just the little bits of margins that are over to the right hand side of the navigation. That's how we know it's 90%, because the navigation is the full width. So if we go back again to our CSS sheet, the next thing we want to target is we're going to target the image and the headings inside in our site header. Okay, so the three rules that I've posted in here, the first one is going to affect the site header image, which is our logo, which we had originally set to a width of 30%. What we want to happen here is we want it to be the width, the full width, so it's going to be 100% width. The next one we're going to target is the site header H1, and I've set that to a property of display none because there's no room for it. It's only going to throw itself down underneath the logo, and it doesn't really make any difference if it's not displayed. In this case anyways, it's just easier for me not to display it. So I've set it to display none. Now it's still visible to search engines. It can still be found, but what you can do is, say if it's a phone number or something like that, you can put it somewhere else. You can have it on your contact us page, or you can have it as the header of your website, or whatever you want to do. But just for my purposes, I'm setting it to display none. Now the browser will still see it. This is only an aesthetic to display none. It's still listed in the code, so the browser will actually view that and see it. So if we save that again and we put it to the server and we go back and we view it in the browser, so if we refresh that, you can see our image has gone full width, it's 100%. Our heading 1 and heading 2 have disappeared, and it's starting to look normal now, but we have to target the next thing we have to target is our navigation to make it a little bit more easier to see on a mobile. Okay, so it may look like there's quite a lot in here, but there isn't really. But I've left them all kind of in a line here so that we can go through them and explain what's happening. So the first one is site header nav. So this is targeting the nav div, and we've made this a height of 163 pixels. And how I come up with 163 pixels is each of our navigation buttons is 40 pixels high. So 4 4s is 160. And I've added a border down here, border top 1 pixel dotted, to affect 3 of the 4 links, so they're going to be 1 pixel each, so that's where I got the 3 out of. Now I've set the background to none to remove the gradient that we gave it previously, and I've given it a background color of A0, 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 which is a grey, and I can take out, I have 2 of those in there, so I can take that out. The next thing I've done is I've given it a border of 1 pixel solid, and it's a dark color. And I've set it to a transparency of 0.6 or 60%, and that's going around the entire nav div. Then the box shadow I've set, it's pretty much the same as the previous one, and I've given it a border radius of 5 pixels. The next thing I've done here then is the nav UL. So this is the unordered list, so I've removed the padding from the left and I've removed the margin from the left, and I've given it a background color of B9, B9, B9. So the next thing I've done here is your site nav ULLI. That's the list items. So we've given them a width of 100%, same as we've done with the image, so they're going to be the full width. And we've aligned the text to the center. And the next one then is targeting the actual links themselves. and again we've removed the margins from both of those, so margin left and margin right is 0. The A hover state, I've given it a background of none, basically removing the gradient that we gave it previously, and I've given the background color to an orange, which is kind of similar to the color that we've been using above. It's slightly different tinge, but it's similar. And then what I've done here is the Li plus Li, which we affected previously to give a border to the left. This time I've removed the left border, and as I mentioned already, I've given it a border top of 1 pixel dotted C9, C9, C9. Now, next one down is this is to affect the link and the visited link as well. So what I've done is I've set them to display block. Now, I had a bit of an issue here with the WebKit browser, with the Chrome browser. Initially, we have this set to display inline block, which means they display left to right. We want these to display top to bottom. So with the WebKit browser, it was calling the first rule that we set earlier on, and it was displaying them in a line the whole time, so it wasn't working. So what I've added in here, and this is kind of became prevalent through WordPress, that's where I first noticed it anyway, and it's exclamation point important, and you're basically drawing it to say that this is the overriding rule for this. You make sure you read this. And again, I've removed the text shadow here, and I've given it an important as well, because it wasn't reading this rule either. So that's something that I had to set straight there. The next thing we've done is the nav A hover, which is the hover state. We've changed the color to a kind of a dark grey. Again, we've removed the background, and again the text shadow is none. Now it's working in this one for some reason, but it wouldn't work in the previous one. But I think what's happening here is this is calling everything after it, so it seems to be working in that sense. The next thing I've done here is the state that I've given the home link previously, because I wanted to add in the corners, the border radiuses on the top left and the bottom left. I've given them 5 pixels top left and bottom left, top right and top left. That's where I've put the radiuses on those, because they're displayed top to bottom now, so I want them to be top left and bottom, top left and top right. And the same here, we want to make sure that the same thing is repeated here. And what we've done here is I've given the bottom link, which is the last link on it, a class of bottom, and we've reversed it so that we have 5 pixel border on the bottom left and the bottom right. So if you go back into our source code, or our page here, you'll notice that I've given the bottom link a class of bottom. So if we save all of that and we put both of those to the browser, the style and the home page, and if we go back in and we refresh the page, we should have a stacked navigation rather than a horizontal. And there we have it, and we have our hover states in, and you can pretty much see what I did in terms of border, our dotted border as well, you can see between the links, and the colors and everything. So that's our navigation pretty much sorted. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to go in and we need to affect the main content. What I want to do first of all is I want to push it away from the navigation. So what I've done here with our main content div is I've moved it, or given it a 2% margin on top. So there's no need to show you what that'll do. I think you have a fair idea what it'll do at this point. The next 3 rules, then, we've targeted our content that we wanted to have a width of 100%. And if we go back and look at the previous rule for our content, you'll see that we had it set to 70%. So we wanted to take up the full width of the page. So, and we've given it a margin top of 2% as well to push it away from the top. Now our content header, or heading H2, we've moved to the middle. We've aligned it in the center. And then what we've done here is we've done content P image. We want a minimum width of 98% and a margin bottom of 3%. And the reason I say a minimum width of 98% is I want there to be a little bit of padding on either side of it, so it's not going to be the full width. And when you factor in our borders and everything, that's where we come up with the 98%. So if we save that and we'll upload it to the server, and we'll go back and refresh the page again, you can see now that our image has taken up the full width, well 98% of the width when you factor in the borders as well, and it's taken up, the actual content has taken up the same width as the navigation has. So the last thing that we have to affect is our sidebar. So we can go back in and we can affect that the same way as we did. The last one that we want to affect is this sidebar. So I've gone in here and I've created 3 rules for our sidebar. Now I want it to be a width of 93.5%. Now the reason the 93.5% comes in is when you factor in all our margins and our paddings and our different things, they all add up. So it's something you're going to have to fiddle around with, but this is the widths that I came up with for the particular reasons that I have, the particular uses that I have here. So I have a width of 93.5%. I have margins of 3% on top and the rest are 0. I have padding of 2% top and 3% top and bottom, 2% top and bottom and 3% right and left. And then the next one I affected was the sidebar H2. I just wanted to push it away from the bottom just a little bit, so I gave it a margin bottom of 5% because it was kind of looking a bit up on top. The next one then is the sidebar image, and again, because of the borders and the padding that I gave it and the borders and the padding that I gave it, I came up with a width of 97.5%. And again, this is trial and error. You can go in and see what works for you. It has a padding of 1% all around, and it has the border again of 1 pixel solid. So again, if we save that and we upload it to the browser or to the server and we refresh, our sidebar should be 100% width. And how I kind of worked out the widths on it is if you right click and inspect the element, you can go in and you can kind of mess around with it in here. So we say, for example, the sidebar, we have widths here. So if I go 94.5%, sorry, just click in here and to affect the rules. So we say if I want to set it to 83%, you can see how it pulls in. So we say I'm going to go a bit higher than 93.5. If say we go up to 95%, you'll see that everything kind of gets thrown out of whack, that it's gone wider than the thing above. So it's what it actually will end up doing is it'll end up adding a scroll bar to the bottom of whatever device you're viewing it on. So you kind of want to keep your widths consistent. So for the likes of this, we had it set for 93.5, and you can actually use your mouse wheel to scroll up. But you see, the second you go over the width, a little scroll bar gets added here, and you can see how it kind of doesn't line up with the rest of it. So it's something that you're going to have to get, as I said, through trial and error. And that's how you do it, is you basically go into your inspect element and you affect whatever parameters are inside in here. So that's our sidebar sorted as well. Now the next thing I want to do is the next one is pretty straightforward. The next one is all I want to do is I want to center this and just give it a little bit of styling. So we go back into our CSS document and we create a little bit of space for ourselves. And as you can see, our last one just basically lines it up into the center. So if we save that again and we put it back to the server and refresh, there's our footer centered in the browser. So that's pretty much it. What I'll do is I'm going to leave this site live, so you'll be able to get it from this point on at that address, and you'll be able to go in and copy the code if you want. You'll be able to go in. The easiest way to do it is you can actually go in and right click on it, not on the image, anywhere else on the document, and you can go view page source, and you'll be able to copy in all of the code from there. So if you want to work away on that, and the CSS, you'll be able to pause the screen and you'll be able to copy it across. Now the reason I've left it this way, it's just to make it a bit easier to read. So you can go ahead and you can space them out the way I had it done already, but as I said already, this is the most efficient way to include your responsive orders styles, rather than putting them and embedding them in a separate sheet, because too many calls to the server for different things will slow your website down. So having them all in the one document is probably the most efficient way to go. So I'm going to continue to add more stuff to this. I'm going to use this website as kind of a basis for more material. But as far as this responsive tutorial goes, it's pretty much finished. So what I would ask is that everybody be sure to like the videos and subscribe. And if you are thinking of getting hosting, please use our affiliate link that's located in the description box below, because as I said, we do get a small commission from it, and every little helps, as they say. Plus they are a good hosting company, and you won't get much cheaper than those. So as I said already, please subscribe and be sure to like the videos and drop a comment below as well. Thanks.